Good day, everyone. The topic of resurrection is very important because if people know that it is real, they must understand that there is a soul. The existence of the soul should give people the understanding that our intellect is immortal. These understandings can help people to stop fearing death as much as some fear today, and can also help people realize the true reasons for the creation of the universe and the role of man in this world. But how to prove that the resurrection of a dead person is possible? The answer lies in Michel de Marquet's book Thiaoouba, the Golden Planet. And the answer to why I know that book is true is in the first videos on my channel, as well as in my free ebook Simple Truths of Life. In short, there are 9 higher selves, one of the tasks of which is to filter the sensations coming from a person to the superior intelligence. If those sensations are based mainly on materialism. This is not the only ability of the higher selves. In fact, the higher the category of the higher self, the more abilities it has. But our higher self of the first category also has several useful abilities. It can cure diseases, and it can also resurrect a dead person under certain conditions. It must be clarified that it is the higher self of a person that sends the soul, also called the astral body, into his physical body during pregnancy. This ability is inherent to all 9 categories of the higher selves. So, in my understanding, the higher selves of the first category have the ability to heal the human body, and the resurrection of the dead is a logical consequence of the ability to heal illness, which goes side by side with the main ability to insert the soul into the physical body. Having dealt with this, what conditions are necessary in order to resurrect a person? Firstly, a person can be resurrected if no more than 3 days have passed since the death of his physical body. After the 3rd day, a person's soul will reunite with his higher self, and his material knowledge will be raised in what we know as the river of oblivion. So, for example, Jesus was resurrected by Thiaoubans on their spaceship on the 3rd day after his death, that is, when the 3rd day has not yet passed. Secondly, a person who, in his astral body, flies through the psychic canal to his higher self must wish to be resurrected, and he should desire this not for himself, but for the sake of those who need him, for example, for the sake of children. Then he will ask his higher self to bring him back, and in some cases he will be allowed to do so. Thirdly, it is logical that there can be no question of any resurrection if the physical body either does not exist or it lacks vital organs. An example of the former is cremation, and for the latter, well, I don't want to spoil your appetite. Perhaps the higher selves of some higher categories have the ability to create organs in order to resurrect a person later. This is just my hypothesis, but it is nonetheless reflected in the fact that the 7th Sauri were able to create the adult body of Jesus Christ in about 24 hours. Perhaps their higher selves could be helping them with this. But there are cases when, after death, even Thiaoubans with their absolute knowledge will not be able to resurrect a person. So, for example, if a person of the first category arrives on the 9th category planet and stays to live on it, then he will die exactly 9 days after his landing, and it will be impossible to resurrect him. This is the law of the universe, which protects people of higher categories from the possible invasion of those who have not yet reached their spiritual level. It's logical, because not all highly spiritual people can have deep material knowledge and technology, just as not all people with high level of technology are highly spiritual people. Are there examples of resurrection other than those associated with Jesus? Yes, and there are quite a few of them. For example, the Russian language Wikipedia has a page on this topic. It contains a huge list of resurrections of people that occurred in different historical periods. It's possible that not all of them are true, but what are the chances that all those cases are lies, or something else? Here's a very recent example of a resurrection. Doctors declared the death of a child who was born about 20 minutes ago. He had been dead for a while. His parents really wanted him to live for his sister. They were telling him about it, trying to warm the dead baby. And then it suddenly took a breath, and then opened its eyes. This is a classic case of resurrection, when a person returns to live in his body for the sake of someone else. Can you resurrect someone? I think under certain conditions, yes. You've already understood that the resurrection is performed by the higher self of the deceased. You play the role of a kind of intermediary. You need to know that people of the first category share their higher self with 8 other people. Thus, there are 9 souls per higher self. Here are my thoughts on what to try in case you need to try to resurrect someone. You will need to ask your higher self to convey to the higher self of the deceased person, and then specifically to the very soul of the deceased, a message that someone needs him, that his life will help other people. In some cases, he will agree to return, and his higher self will allow him to do so, having previously restored his body so that it can function. Of course, I understand that in today's sea of skepticism, not everyone is capable of such attempts. I myself had 2 cases when there were 2 recently deceased people relatively close to me, but I did not approach. In one case, a child appeared to have been thrown from the window of an apartment above mine in my house, but I found out about it after he was taken away by an ambulance. On another occasion, I was walking along Znamensky Street when I saw a policeman on the other side of the road, with a dead man lying under his feet, covered with black polyethylene. I hope that there will be no more episodes like this in my life, but otherwise, maybe I'll work up my courage to try what might be a relatively mundane thing. Now you know how the resurrection works. All the best.